The tragic reality is that we have millions of displaced persons in the world today. Persons that are short of food and water, persons endangered by conflicts throughout various regions of the world. No one disputes that most are victims. This is a humanitarian disaster. Things have gotten worse, it seems, and it could even be worse in the future.
Globally today, we are witnessing an intensification of violence in the world's armed conflicts. The result is that there are almost 60 million refugees worldwide. 50% of these refugees are women and girls, who are most vulnerable to sexual assault and exploitation. Violence against women has become rampant in refugee camps, especially in countries such as Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, and Iraq. Refugee women are being held captive by armed groups and human traffickers, and are often raped. The UN member states committed to taking steps to make the world more safe and equitable for women. However, the UNHCR must take action to address this issue and ensure that female refugees are safe from sexual assault and abuse. In 2017, the UN should propose an increase in funding for refugee camps in order to promote safety and provide adequate health care. Gender-based violence in Middle Eastern camps has become a serious threat for women and girls. It is defined as any form of violence that results in physical, sexual, or psychological harm or suffering to women. Female refugees across the world are highly vulnerable to all forms of sexual and physical violence. They are continuously at risk of being brutalized by human traffickers or even border security forces. The number of people fleeing sexual assault in refugee camps continues to increase, especially in the Middle Eastern region. According to United Nations University, sex crimes are a serious problem because they violate personal freedoms, traumatize the victim, and often lead to undesired pregnancy, unsafe abortions, or even death. The UN Refugee Agency reported that all female refugees interviewed claimed they felt unsafe and threatened during the various states of immigration through the Middle East.
الطفل صار اعتداءات تحرش حكي كذا اسمع من الناس هذا علق شيء بذهني فكتير كنت متحفظة وكتير كنت خايفة.
This fear may be heightened by the fact that services for survivors of domestic violence are extremely scarce in places such as Iraq and Jordan. Refugees have very little access to medical or psychological care, and they struggle to forget their horrid experiences in refugee camps.
They enter the houses, they rape, they kill in front of our eyes, and they shoot. Everything happens there now.
Many people claim that protecting refugees is a threat to national security and takes too much government money and resources, as the U.S. gives about $8 billion per year to the UN and its affiliated organizations.
And I think it's important for government leaders to consult something more than their feelings as we deal with nations in unstable areas of the world. Good intentions are not enough. Good intentions can lead to disastrous consequences.
The president-elect Donald Trump gave a speech outlining his views on immigrants. In the speech, he claimed that terrorists could infiltrate the Syrian resettlement program in the U.S. He also announces that his administration would suspend immigration from Syria and Libya, and emphasized how the extreme vetting process for refugees would be tough.
I call it extreme vetting. I call it extreme vetting. Our country has enough problems. We don't need more, and these are problems like we've never had before.
But this is not just an issue of money or security. This is an issue of basic human rights. The United States is in a position of power and has the resources to help vulnerable refugees facing violence.
They're escaping persecution, and I think that as a human people that we need to take care of one another, and we do have a responsibility to do what we can in this situation.
We're here because right now there are young girls, like the 16-year-old refugee from Myanmar that I met in Malaysia, who've suffered unspeakable abuse at the hands of traffickers. Girls who pray at night that someone might rescue them from their torment.
The UN can provide aid to protect female refugees, and it is vital that the global community ensures safety and protection for those who do not have the necessary resources. Gender-based violence abroad is multi-layered and does not have a single solution, but the UN can take small steps to change its camps. Something as simple as women being provided with their own spaces within refugee camps and their own places to use the bathrooms, shower, and sleep without the presence of men.
Women and girls are living in constant fear of harassment in these refugee camps. While these camps are meant to protect them and provide them safety, there is lack of food, there is lack of sanitation, there is lack of mental health. Something as basic as menstrual pads are not available. The toilets are filthy. So all this, it's not physical form of harassment, but it's also mental form of harassment that a lot of young women and girls have to go through.
Many humanitarian officers in camps are men, which can make female refugees uncomfortable and less likely to ask for help. Sometimes these employees are perpetrators themselves. If there was increased inspection of employees, and if more women were hired, this change could make communication easier and camps safer for women.
So, as humans, I think it is our moral obligation to help anybody who is in need, because if we are not going to provide that help, what are these refugees going to look out for? What is their hope?
Refugees are resilient people and they're very hard workers. And we try to give them as much support as we can.
We must make the change that we want to see, and one small step can go a long way for these refugees. There is no question that female refugees are not receiving the safety and help they deserve, and it is our obligation to use our resources and do what we can to help those in need.
And we need to continue to speak up for justice and equality and insist that the universal human rights of every person are upheld everywhere.